Welcome to the From Code to C-Suite podcast.
Because, you see all these podcasts, looks like very glamorous. All of us put up a face and do that.
It's so glamorized, especially on social media.
I heard Elon Musk saying in one of the interviews, it's literally like eating a glass. So can you do that in real life? I think people should fall in love with the problem. Be prepared that what works in US, UK, Europe region will not work here in the region. So the problem statement remained the same, but the delivery of the problem completely got changed.
This episode isn't about hype or headlines. It's about what it actually takes to build, sacrifice, and survive while building a fintech business in one of the toughest regions in the world.
Don't bulldoze people who are working in the team because you assume that you have a 20-year experience, right? And that somebody has been just in the business for 5 years. I think that openness to learn from each and every person and then taking the best decision, utilizing your, the experiences is something which you should be open for. So you need people who have very high learnability and high adaptability as well.
PK, good evening and welcome to the podcast. How are you today?
Good evening, Liam. I'm good. And thank you for inviting me here. Really pleasure.
Very welcome. Great to have you. I know we've met a few times now. It's been really nice getting to know you, and I'm super excited to jump into a bit more about your story and your background and everything and what you're building at the moment. So if we can jump into it, could you please give everybody that doesn't know who you are a bit of an overview of who you are and what you're currently working on right now?
Fantastic. So, Liam, I'm PK. I'm co-founder and CEO of Dalil. Actually, I'm a techie by my background. I started my journey way back in mid-90s at Infosys as part of product unit, which we were building a product for the banks. Jumped on to create my own ventures, operated in India and Singapore, and then moved into the region in 2017 to create the first open banking platform in the region, Tarabut. Scaled it till Series A. The team was, scaled from 8 to 80 people. And then I decided to take a plunge with another of my colleague from Tarabut to create Dalil, which is a personalized financial marketplace built on top of open finance rails in the region.
Awesome. Okay, cool. We'll dissect each little part of the journey a bit further. But if we just look at Dalil, what you're working on right now at the minute, tell me more about that and tell me how you found the issue and what problem you're looking to solve.
Yeah. So if you look at in the region, 65% of the population is below the age of 35, right? And everyone loves the personalization, which likes of Netflix, Amazon, or Spotify offers. But when you look at the the financial services, there's an absolute lack of personalization, right? Me and my co-founder, we have a 20 years age difference. We get pushed the same product. So the problem we are trying to solve on a broad level is bringing in the personalization into the financial sectors. So that's the key problem. Also, what we are looking at is the region. In the region, the finance is a very taboo subject. People find it very stressful to find the right product for them. So how can we make finding the product easier for them? So we are trying to build what NerdWallet or Credit Karma did in the Western world to bring it to the Middle East and help both the consumers in terms of managing their finances better, getting good control on the financial product, and help the bank actually acquire a high intent customers at a low customer acquisition cost.
Nice. It makes a lot of sense. I'm thinking just on my feet now, some of the the points and things you get from credit cards and whatever here, I get sent ones at the minute, which is playing golf, but I don't play golf. So it's kind of wasted on me. So I feel like maybe other people that are into different things, how amazing would it be if they could get points on shopping that's totally tailored to them or restaurants they like to go to, things like that.
Absolutely. And, on that point of golf, even if, say, for example, your card gives you certain other benefits, there are so many benefits that you don't know. So, if you have a consumer-facing app, which is able to tell you as you walk into the mall and buying something, saying that, hey, you're buying a Nike shoe and say Adidas is having a 20% discount part, with your financial data, if we are able to tell you that, hey, this card will give you the 20% discount there, you are going to be happy. The bank is going to be happy because you're going to swipe their card, right?
Wow, that's so interesting because I've done this before in the past. In particular, one I've used in the past is American Express, right? And I've actually spent things and paid for things on a card, not knowing that if I'd have spent it in a certain shop or on a certain thing, I would have got the points back because I didn't know about it.
Correct.
They're not often that pushed to you to actually know that, are they?
Absolutely. And that's where, all these things get lost.
Yeah.
People often don't know, what benefit they can get from it. And that's our idea to, how can we understand the financial behavior of the consumer, use that data in a very sophisticated manner to guide them to make better financial decisions.
Awesome. No, I love it. It makes so much sense. Good product. And give me a bit of an idea of what the business looks like right now in terms of like headcount, where you're based and everything like that at this point in time.
Sure. So we launched in UAE earlier this year at the Visa headquarters, the regional offices. Visa has actually, we were the winner of Visa Everywhere initiative.
Nice.
In Saudi, and that's how the partnership has started going. From that time onward, we have established ourselves in DMCC, so we operate out of Astro Labs. In the team, I have a co-founder, Rida. She has been my colleague at Tarabut, so
Nice.
she was the person who actually scaled the team from 8 to 80 people and got the licenses in UK, UAE, Saudi, and Bahrain. So she's an integral part of the team. And then we are a very lean team. We're a remote first. We are total 10 people. So we have a product designer who is based in UK. Me and Rida based in UAE, and a lot of our tech people are between Eastern Europe and Pakistan.
Awesome. Nice. Good little split there. Okay. Well, look, let's take it back then. I guess if we start the journey of how did you get into tech, right? What first sparked your interest in technology? And then we'll go through your career path so far, because I know there's a really interesting couple of stories to tell. How did you first get into technology? What inspired you into that world?
Sure. So I think my first brush with the technology was when the computers were first coming. So I'm quite old. So, when the computer first came in, I was in the school. So, that's, and it was very fascinating to go to the computer lab and try and build something. And then I pursued engineering, and then I got into Infosys.
Back at school, just quickly on that, what was you building back then? Like, what did it look like?
Yeah. So at those time, there was a languages like, you could write and create a letter or create a poem, those kind of things. As we were graduating in the college project, actually we built a system where you could literally, without using the mouse, you want to reach to a monitor, at certain coordinates, left, right, up or down. You can use the keyboard to do that. So we coded that whole part.
Nice.
And then, got selected for Infosys, way back in 1996. And Infosys had a services business, and they were just starting their product business. So the co-founder, Nandan, this was a pet project, we got assigned to that.
Wow, nice.
And that's where actually I quickly realized that there are two parts to being techie. You can sit behind and build amazing B2B platform, which banks can use, financial institutions can do. But at the same time, there is an opportunity to actually go out there, interact, understand the problem statement, and then try to come out with the solutions which can actually solve bigger problem. And that's how I started seeing the use of technology as a tool to solve complex problems and make it easier in different verticals. So working closely there, and growth was amazing. I worked for 8 to 9 years, stock options, entrepreneurship. Entrepreneur bug caught me because when you work with such high caliber individual, you really can see like what it is to start on your own. So did business in India, in Singapore, acquired customers in Africa.
Did you also live in Singapore for a while?
Yeah, a little while. Singapore, I lived a while in Indonesia.
Wow.
I had customers here in the region, some in Europe. So it was quite a journey before I met so in 2017 is when I met the founder of Tarabut.
How did you land in the GCC then? If you was in Singapore, India, how did you land here?
So I had, as I mentioned, from that venture, I had customers here in the region and also in the Eastern Africa. So, we used to work with certain banks here in UAE and then in Saudi. And I was looking to establish something in UAE at that point in time for the previous venture. That's where I met Abdullah, who is the founder of Tarabut. And he was looking to get into the fintech space and start something. Open banking was just starting in UK. And he invited me to, come to Bahrain. My geography is very bad. So I still remember I flew back to India. I looked in the map, which is this country, because I knew UAE and Saudi, but not Bahrain.
Yeah.
And went there, and the rest is history. I actually looked at this as a big problem and a big platform to build, to disrupt the whole region by bringing the open banking into the region.
Wow, amazing. Yeah. And just to back on the Infosys stuff, was you involved in the fintech world then? Is that what you was working on before?
Yeah. So with Infosys, obviously we were working with banks of all shapes and sizes. Banks, so I'm talking about a time when even the centralization, you had to go to literally the same bank branch where, you have deposited the money to, withdraw it, right? So even the centralization had not come in. So we were the guys who have actually built platforms for making centralization possible, the ATMs when it was coming in, integrating that to the banking technologies. And then from there on to, converting microfinances bank to being one of the largest retail banks in the Eastern Africa, making possible things like there are a lot of remote areas where, the banked population live, but they can't come to city to withdraw the cash. So the banks would have a van going there to give the money to the consumer. So, we build as part of our Infosys and plus my previous venture, along when we were Infosys partner, build certain platform where, the banks could drive on a van and in real time update the balances, how much money and disperse, and making it easier so that the coffee planters and these, the blue collar workers, so to call, don't have to spend money to come to the branches to get their cash. So a lot of innovation all through.
It's crazy, isn't it? I mean, I guess like me, luckily enough, being born in England, that's just not a thing there, right? Because it's a little bit more mature in the stages. But it's crazy to think that that's actually the case in some places.
Absolutely. But I will tell you, Liam, it's two reasons, right? It's not only England, it's also of the era I'm talking about, right? So if you look at the 90s to, the early 2000s, most of the banks in different parts of the world were not having that kind of infrastructure where they could serve people, like today ATMs are such a common thing, and when it came out first in 98, 99, I'm talking about in India and in the African region, it was such a huge thing for the market. Yeah.
To be honest, it's strange. Even thinking about ATMs now, I was actually just thinking, I don't even know the last time I used an ATM because it's kind of past that stage, right?
Absolutely.
No one's using cash anymore.
Yeah, absolutely right. We are all just walking with our mobiles.
Apple Pay all the time. Crazy.
Yeah.
And then tell me more about TerraBrooks. I know that's a very popular business. People know who they are quite well in the region. What role did you play? It was pretty much like second hire, right? Second person in that team. So how did...
So I was the founding director there. So as I said, I met Abdullah and he said, let's do something together. So, obviously right from working with the regulators to educate them on the open banking, framework, how it would work, to actually assembling a team of developers who have worked with me in my previous ventures, bringing them on the ground and building the platform so that we can showcase to the regulators and to the bank the value the open banking brings in, to then scaling it up to commercially sell it to the banks, in terms of signing up the commercial partnerships, whether in Bahrain, whether it is in Saudi, and then expanding the team, so literally, strategy, commercial, technology, till the time we scaled, went to Series A and we started hiring in our CPO, the CTOs, obviously I was flipping many heads, and wherever the business needed me to, whether it's product, whether it's technology, whether it's commercial, to support.
Yeah. Interesting. What would you say, like one of the, obviously amazing journey, you was there for quite a while. What was one of the biggest things you learned in that business?
Yeah, I think in that business as well as in the fintech business, I will say that, and I think a lot of time this business is not easy, right? So I knew this from earlier too, but again, the huge emphasis came on the, persistence basically, because banks are not easy to close on. The regulations take time. It takes time for, things to mature. So you have to persist. You have to show up every day. You have to find ways and means of handling objections
Yeah.
of, when you are bringing in a disruptions, right? So, if you're asking banks who have always been holding data close to their chest of, I want to test out with you the open banking proposition, you can imagine how many banks would have been excited, right?
Yeah.
So how do you come out with value proposition? How do you think about how can I benefit the customer, the consumer, or the banks, and then learn with that? So it's that is being one of the thing. I think the other learning has been I think because the business take time to scale. I think the capital raising I think is very, very important. Just thinking that you can bootstrap it and then scale it up is a mistake. I think the sooner you raise, the better it is.
Yeah.
Is a big learning for me. Yeah,
I guess it gives you more confidence as well, doesn't it, to explore and to take bigger risks as a business.
Correct.
If you know you've got capital to do
Correct.
so.
Absolutely.
Big difference.
Absolutely.
Well, what was I going to say? What inspired you then? So after the journey at Tarabot, you've kind of pivoted from almost like a co-founder, so quite entrepreneurship mindset. In your career path, what made you want to go from working in a business to entrepreneurship to leadership? Like, where did that instinct come from?
Yeah, I think that happened, as I mentioned, way back during my Infosys time, because I worked very closely with such amazing leaders like Nandan Nilekani, and it was a big product business. So, I started my business soon after that, right? And once I have come into the region and with Tarabot, obviously had gone through that grind almost 5 years and till the time we reached to that Series A, I had two choices. Obviously we had scaled up the team. Life was quite stable. We had a bigger team. We have people with the formal roles of, covering product, covering technology, covering risk compliance and commercial. So, either be a mentor or a father figure and help team navigate and enjoy the Middle Eastern life. But then I also believe that, Allah has given us just one life. And what was bothering me was at Tarabot, we did a big disruption of bringing this open banking, open finance as a first to the region. But what was bothering me was that, and even my co-founder Rida told me this, when we were moving offices for Tarabot, she said, PK, you have been in this business now for 5 years. I go home and my parents still ask me, what do you do? Like, what is the fintech business? Because when will we see what the benefit is? And so she asked me, are you happy with, that big shift which you did of coming to a new geography, giving it all out? And are you happy now in this? And that, triggered the thought that, okay, I'm not done. I need to do more. And that's where I looked at, in the Western world, platforms were built, combine, utilizing the open finance and giving the benefit both to the banks as well as to the consumers. Here in the region, nobody was working on such value proposition. I knew it will be hard, but decided to take a plunge and give up on the stable, the salary and the name and everything which you have, and you can just take it easy to say that, okay, I want to do this grind once more.
Makes sense.
So
where do you think you got that from? Because I feel like even, for example, right, you've been at Infosys, huge company, did extremely well there, grew with the business, even to take a shot on Tarabot and then to do it again currently now. Where do you think you got that from? Was it stem from like your family? Are they entrepreneurial? Like, where do you think you got it from?
Oh, that's a good question. I think I was giving this talk somewhere in the uni and somebody has asked me the similar thing. To let you know, I am, my family background, everyone is either into the education or in the professional jobs, like, they would government job to be more precise, or, the legal side and so on and so forth. Nobody in the business, both on the maternal or paternal side. I was the first one jump into it. I think from where this comes from is, when I was in Infosys also, what kept me going and moving me faster was that thing of making different, making the impact thing, right? And I realized after 8-10 years there, once we have, established ourselves, we have more than 100 clients across the thing, that from here on, I have to do more of the same thing which I have done. So I'm not going to learn a lot. There will be a bigger team support and all that. So that mindset of curiosity, that mindset of learning, and then the impact of where the rubber meets the road, I think that's very, very important for me. So given a choice, if Dalil reaches certain time, some stage, if there is another problem comes my way, which I feel would create an impact, I would jump on it. Because, we are all given as a human one life and you should try and make as much impact as you can do.
Completely agree. And it's so funny because I feel like You will never stop learning if you own your own business, because it's everything. It's not just the idea, it's everything around that, the marketing, the finance, everything. You will never ever stop learning. I think it's the biggest learning curve for me personally that I've ever taken. So I can imagine for most people as well.
Yes. And that learning never stops. It's not that, oh, I've done a business, so I've learned and done. You know, as you rightly said, you make mistakes, you learn from it, and then, you know, you go on and world is changing. It's so fast paced. So unless you're out there and trying to do something, I think you may be left behind in terms of your learning.
And it's not even like you learn from the mistakes you make. If you see the business going somewhere and you want to go into a new market or a new vertical, you go out your way to learn that before you enter it, right?
Absolutely.
So you're constantly learning outside to then, you know, make that advantage in the business.
Absolutely. So like I will tell you, like at Tarabut, when we were expanding from Bahrain to Saudi, COVID hit at that point in time. Right? And now we knew that it is important for us to acquire customers there before, you know, like in during this time while there are travel restrictions, because you need to be first mover. And we find ways and means. And, you know, I built connections sitting in Bahrain, making phone calls, making, you know, the WhatsApp call, find mechanism, connecting the banks in Saudi to banks in Bahrain, you know, and so you learn that, you know, how do you navigate the scenarios and still get those 3-4 big clients so that you can start and, you know, it becomes easier for you to scale.
So you have to already learn the market before you go into it, right?
Absolutely.
Very interesting. I want to talk about leadership as well, because I know that's a really key thing to build a successful business. Being a good leader is super important. How would you describe your leadership style, and how do you normally go around that sort of stuff?
So I think I have two ways of this. One is lead by example, right? I think you can tell people as much as you can, but I think they learn by what you do. It's like, you know, like when you're raising your family, raising a kid, the kid learns more from not the instructions you give, but actually the values they see you are imbibing, right? So that's, I think, first most important thing. The second is, I believe in, if you have hired people and they are smarter than you should give them the full flexibility to do it. So even at Dalil, when the meetings happen, and even if somebody is much younger in experience, and they want, okay, you know, what do you want us to do? My immediate question is, how would you want it to do? Right? You know that what our goal is, and I listen to it, and I believe is that the hierarchy should not decide the decision, but the merit of the idea should decide. People should feel free to actually tell you on your face, this sucks, doesn't make sense, and they should be able to confident enough to give you the rationale, and you should be mature enough to think over it and say that, yes, this makes sense, my idea was bad.
I think
that's my
I think it takes a lot to be like that, but also to be such a good leader, because I think some people might also have this like ego thing about them. Maybe when it's their business and they might know that idea is better, but they can't admit it, so they won't do it. And also, you're clipping that person's wings in your business a little bit as well.
Absolutely. And, you know, I think what is important is, if you don't tell the person that your idea is better than mine, you know, that they are in early in their journey, right? They need to build that confidence. They're looking up to you, and there is no harm, because ego has no value, right? Because, you know, the more you share, the more they learn, the more better it is for the organization, because they will be more motivated.
Completely agree. Completely agree. And third one, is there a third one that you would say?
The third one I would say is, you know, creating a safe environment where people can goof off, but they don't, you know, shy away from admitting that, hey, look, this was a mistake I did, and I think put the question back to them that, so how do you suggest now we solve it, right? So the moment they have that confidence that they can make mistake, and it's a safe environment, you're not going to just fire them and take off on them, and they can think about what to do. Two things will happen. Culturally, the excuses will stop coming in, because otherwise the culture of I'm doing right, somebody else is doing wrong kind of stuff happen, or the people don't really experiment to the level at which, you know, they try to play safe. And if you're building a fintech and not financial institutions or a corporate, you need your people to be, you know, willing to try out new things. Right?
Always, you got to be testing, haven't you? Makes sense. And then let's talk about some of the I guess maybe struggles or quite hard things you've faced so far in the journey building Dalil, like starting up your own business again. Like, what are the biggest struggles you've faced so far in this journey?
Sure. So I think any business, this or the previous, there are a few things, you know, which you go through the cycle. I think Coming up with an idea is the cheapest thing, is the easiest thing, right? You can do a lot of research, you can figure out, you can do the market sizing and everything part of it, right? I think you can get the initial team set, which is aligned to the goal. I think the first and foremost is, looking at how do you scale this business, right? So in terms of the scaling, when I'm talking about, it's not only about the revenue scaling. How do you increase the distribution of the product or the platform? How do you scale the culture of the platform, right? So the initial set of 4 of us, 5 of us who start the company may be all in and have a certain set of culture which we have established of all the leadership value which I've talked. How do you scale the team by preserving that culture? Because if that culture is contaminated, your growth will take a hit. There would be a problem there. So I think that's another thing which I've seen up and close in my previous ventures. That has been a challenge, is scaling and the product distribution.
How would you advise someone to, maybe, I don't know the best way to describe it, but how would you advise someone to, the best ways of building a good culture? Because culture can be so many different things to so many different people and so many different businesses. Like, how would you advise someone to stay on track with that? Because even myself, like trying to hire people for my business, I sometimes worry about adding different people that might not fit. I don't know how to properly assess it always.
Yeah. So I think, you're absolutely right. Again, a lot of things over a period of time has become, like a buzzword. So I think first and foremost is culture is very personal. And when I'm saying personal, not as an individual, as a founder, but what kind of culture you want to build your company for, right? So like, do you want to build a culture of where, the customers see that you're obsessed with quality, you're obsessed with the customer service. So that you need to define, and that obviously if you have co-founders and the founding team, you should have those conversation, right? Not only the conversation, but actually literally doing a scenario play of, okay, if we are in this scenario, what would you do? What would be your path, A or B, right? Segregating the black from the white or the grays kind of thing. It is very, very important that at least as a founding team, first you understand that, right? Once you will understand as a founding team, you would make sure that your processes of hiring people, you will not hire the talent because they are the best in terms of the technical skills or the commercial skill which they bring to the table, but they also actually resonate with the culture, right? Now, how do we do that at Dalil? So like Rida, my co-founder, she is pro at this. Even at Tarawut, she did this. At Dalil, she has done this. Is in our hiring, we do a very short screening call, which we make sure that at least one of the co-founders is there on that call, even on the first call, right? Because that call may not be all about technicals and all that, but getting to know the person and things like that. With the responses, she has a set of questions. You can figure out, what is going on. Next round, what happens is we bring in another person who is from that department. So say, for example, if we are hiring in tech, somebody from the tech having that conversation with, again, one of the co-founders being there. Now, you already know that what happened in the previous meeting. And if this person has come here, what kind of answer responses? You do another round, right? And you have given them some assignment to work on. In the third round, we again meet the person if they qualify for that, and we bring in another member of the team who is not from the same department. Because when you're building a fintech, a tech guy has to work with a product or a marketing person. Now, you bring in that marketing person, you bring in the other product person, and you may have another co-founder, sitting there, one of them. During these 3 conversations, you can figure out if the person has been consistent on displaying those values, right? That is number 1. Number 2 is you have introduced at least 2 other departments, people on the interview call, and you have their feedback on what do they feel about this person, right? Because imagine a marketing person sitting in an interview of a tech person. They can't judge him or her on his skills.
So true.
But they can judge on whether I will gel well with this person or not. And I personally feel that that's such a wonderful thing. A lot of big organizations do 8 or 9 rounds of interviews, but those are all more focused towards the skill. Whereas in our part, it's a combination of skill and culture in each of the rounds, basically. And that's how you can potentially preserve, because a lot of time when you hire a person from a Facebook or from Kareem also, like in the region now, it's not the person you're looking for. Because they were not part of the founding team of Kareem, or maybe they were not part of the first 30 hires of Kareem or 50 hires of Kareem, right? So maybe you're not there for them to, give, they're not the right people to give you the best to scale your company from, like say a 10 people team to a 50 people team.
It's interesting. I think two things I want to pick on there. So like, as you mentioned, if you're having, it's been interesting that you would have a very senior person on that initial call and throughout that process, because it might be easy to act one way in one call, then maybe not show up the same in the next. So having 3 calls, I think it's hard to really kind of,
absolutely,
fake that 3 times almost.
Absolutely.
And then on the second part, you're so right. And we face this issue a lot. Some of the companies here, they see these logos of businesses, let's just use Cream or whatever, for example, and they think, oh, we want to hire that person only from that company because it looks amazing or because everybody knows them. But you're right. Imagine if they're, employee 100, their culture is going to be so different to the founding team. The energy is not going to be the same. The environment they've been in before, way different.
Right. Absolutely.
Makes a big difference.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay. Now, what about the landscape of fintech? If we talk a little bit more about that now, what are the biggest changes that you've seen over the past sort of like 5 to 10 years? I guess specifically in that region because that's where you've been closest to. But what changes have you seen?
Yeah. So I think, obviously when I came into the region, the fintech was just a buzzword. It was just starting. A lot of conferences were happening here, the blockchain, ePay Summit, and so on and so forth, right? I have seen, and I personally, I feel that the biggest change is yet to come in. It's still not done. We are still, as a region, the work is happening and we will reach there for the biggest change. But I think we have moved from a buzzword to actually active implementation of a lot of policy decisions. The regulators have learned and doubled down on the fintech initiatives. If you look at whether it was Bahrain, whether it is UAE, whether it is Saudi, now Qatar, Oman, it's not only about the open banking or open finance regulations coming everywhere, and they are getting better and better. Each jurisdiction learning from the other one that what can be done. So like in UAE, they are coming up with a centralized model of implementation, whereas the decentralized model, which was done in Bahrain and Saudi, crypto regulations came in. Bahrain, it's the central bank. UAE, it's the WARA, which is doing. So AI is a lot, obviously. Yes, it is a lot of buzzword and a lot of air around it, but I think there are use cases which are seriously being built and built in the region. A lot of global fintechs are finally coming into the region, basically, which is a good news.
Revolut, for example, right? The CEO, he even moved there like 2 weeks ago, I think.
Yeah. So, those are the big things. And that's a big signal that, that people, though we are not a European region, each country size is very small. Global fintechs are seeing that the environment is ready. As I said, 65% of the people are young people. So they are really happy to utilize, those kind of new technologies. So those are the big changes which are happening. I think one of the things which would happen in the financial sector, which I started with, the purpose of Dalil is, I think, the personalization. It has to come in. The banks always had the customer data. Even without open banking, open finance, ideally they should have been given back. They know when did you, go to a uni, or, when did you got your first job, when did you buy your first car, when your salary changed because, part of it, or you got married, or, your thing. They always had the data, but I think because the competition or the environment was not such pressing, they were happy with just creating one size fits all product. I think it will become a lot more personalized, both for the credit part as well as for the investment part of it. I think more and more people will come under the umbrella of the credit. So, like if you see, I think it is just 2 days back, the regulator here said that for personal loan now, the minimum salary requirement is slashed big time. But I think some of these technologies like open banking, open finance will also give ways and means to the banks to get access to complementary data to do a better risk assessment and, have a better credit scoring.
How tailored can it get, and how much data would they need to know that? Because I guess it really depends. The more information they know, the better it can be tailored.
Yeah. So I'll tell you this. So imagine this, I'll give you an example of 2 use cases. Right. With open finance here in UAE, you can get access to 2 years of customer transactional data on a rolling basis, right? So the more you stay with that platform, they have more and more data. Now, you can do few things. I will just take, there are hundreds of use cases, but I will just take 2 examples. Say, for example, we look at Liam's data and we find that whenever you travel to UK and you travel at least 3 times in a year, let's say, for example, you actually use Emirates rather than, say, British Airways, right? Now, if I'm a bank, I can actually target you for a card which gives you Emirates lounge access, more miles on Emirates, rather than your existing card, which probably, you, as you said, the golf benefit, right? So, and that's a clear benefit with consumer will see, and that's personalized for you because you are using that, right? So one is that. The second is, like, say, for example, there are people who are sitting on an idle balance of, say, 10,000 dirhams, which they don't need for next 12 months, 24 months. Now, today, even the digital banks, without taking the names, you open the app and it says, hey, open a deposit account. And, we have the 6% interest or, 5% interest based on the rate. Imagine banks working on the data set of knowing exactly these are the customers, 9 months, 12 months, 6 months. I have this size of customers, this size of deposit. They can really come up with personalized product for these and, see that, what works with the customers. Third and last one, which I would say is, and this I was telling to some of the banks meeting with whom we are working right now, is change the copy of the message. Least you can do is forget about changing the message. Change the copy of the message. If it is the same card Liam and PK are targeted with, if you are targeting, PK eats out more, tell him take this card because you will get 20% on XYZ place. And if Liam is the one who basically buys on Noon or Namshi or whatever, like Amazon, give you saying that, hey, this card will give you because that card might have benefit for both, but at least a personalized copy. So that both of us feel that, we are getting some personalized offer.
It's interesting, actually. And I think the text is actually so interesting as well because it's how grabbing it is to pop up, right? I'm just thinking of an example recently. I know it's not the same, but even on Deliveroo, sometimes it will send me like a phrase about ordering in quite a slang message. In like a very like young genre style message, right? That maybe my granddad wouldn't have a clue what that meant. It's like, yo, bro, do you want a pizza tonight? And I'm like, what? Like that's so tailored to generation. It's interesting, but more grabbing because it's like unique. Interesting. And I think like getting back to the whole fintech point, this is what really excites me about this region in the fintech because there's so much room for growth, so much room for opportunities. And the way that we're geographically located here is that we can service different areas who maybe aren't so fast forward in the fintech world. You've got still so many emerging economies around us.
Right. Absolutely.
So much opportunity.
Absolutely. I think gone are the days, so the earlier the region was working on importing the technologies, importing the teams from outside and just probably reselling them here. We have graduated to building technology here. And I think very quickly we are seeing the startups which are starting in the region are actually going out and delivering value in the other parts of the world too.
Very interesting. Even like likes of Tavi and Tamara, I'm pretty sure they've gone overseas now and great products that you can use.
Yes. Tarawat actually acquired a company, after my departure from there in UK, a payment company in which they got then into the region. And there are a lot of other players which I've seen that they built here and then they have gone to UK or, in the US and they are selling those technologies and platforms.
Nice. Love that. I know we briefly mentioned it there previously, but we spoke about AI. Where do you see AI, making its stamp in fintech over the next, 5-10 years?
So I think what we are seeing AI largely right now is in terms of, supporting doing certain jobs, right? The fintech is a little complex part. It's not just the information and, it's a regulated sector. So obviously you need to deal with that data differently. But I think few things which definitely will happen. For the product itself, people will no more be searching on, say, Google or, looking out on an app, that, what card to go, what card, to do. So I think a lot of those kind of integration, which you will see that, within the AI application, you will be able to order things. So like in India, there was already a live use case where, you could say that, hey, here is my grocery list. And I want to buy this. And, the chat GPT could say that, okay, this is the provider. These are the items which are available. Instead of a 1 liter of milk, they have a 2 liter milk. Do you want me to replace it? And even the checkout happen. within the AI part of it, right? So it can go to as sophisticated level as that a fintech can incorporate AI, and people are able to fulfill their orders, switch to a card or something
Yeah.
using the AI itself, rather than looking and searching for information or physically going somewhere.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
If we're speaking about Delil specifically, where can you guys see yourself implementing AI or enhancing the business, whether that be because of headcount or just internal products, personalization? Like, where can you see that happening?
So as of now, also we use the AI in certain areas of our work, which is more internal. So in terms of whether it's the product design, whether it's the marketing part of it, we use a lot of AI tools internally to optimize, reduce effort, and get a better copy, get a better suggestions part of it. Commercial side in coming out with the proposition, how to tailor it. So that's one. In terms of purely what we will put out there for the consumer, we already have a feature called something known as Magic Match.
Nice.
We have named it as a Magic Match. The idea there is currently you choose few criteria that, hey, I want Sharia compliant, I want this. We save that as your preferences. And when you go on the app, we show you the products which are matching that.
Nice.
So we'll be plugging in the AI right there. Which can then look at the data, which you have given the consented access, and based on that, then recommend you, suggest you, and guide you for making better decisions. So that's where we will be going with that. And on the bank side of the proposition, the opportunity alert. So let me give you some examples. So say, for example, today, if a bank or an insurance provider is sending a car insurance premium renewal, it goes to everyone saying that, hey, sign up before this date and 10% discount. Whereas, utilizing the same information and using the intuitive engine, we'll be able to target they can target using our platform that set of 100, that set of 1,000 clients whose car renewal is due, say, in the next 7 days, and a very personalized policy recommendation of saying that, hey, this is what is the premium you will pay if you renew with us.
Nice.
So these are the areas where we see the AI use cases evolving.
Nice.
And utilized by both sides of the ecosystem.
Makes sense. And in regards of maybe headcount, do you think that the way you can scale Delil as a business, would AI maybe replace headcount or just enhance the people that you've got?
I think that's a great question. For us, I have always believed in lean team can do mean jobs, basically.
Nice.
So we are a very lean team right now. We have been very selective about scaling the team. I don't believe in scale and then cut down kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So I think AI would be supplementing. Where it can replace people is probably in a monotonous jobs, which we have not even hired right now for in terms of, say, support team. When you're building, you don't have to have the traditional somebody picking up the phone and doing a customer support, whether it's for a B2B or a B2C, but you can have AI agent which would support that.
Yeah.
So definitely from the team perspective, we will probably be looking at those agentic model for either the commercial call or the support call part of it, but use it more for making our teams more efficient in product delivery design, marketing delivery design, or to our consumer or to the banks is where we will use AI for.
Nice.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people that I spoke to recently said maybe the team structure might change ever so slightly, where people are more like project managers enhancing AI rather than lots of developers. They might only need one that can then 4x the capabilities, etc.
Yeah, no, and that's where I said we are very intentional about hiring the team, because this I've seen up very close also in multiple ventures. A lot of time it is not that when you go from 2 developer to 20 developers, you would get 10x.
Yeah.
The chances are you might actually create a negative impact.
Yeah.
So you have to be very, very careful about how do you squad, how do you plan your teams, right? So what we have done even at a smaller scale is we create a very cohesive team. So you have a designer, you have the developer, you have the marketing person also, because at the end of it, the developer job is to build what the business analyst or the designer or a product person is saying. But the marketing is also an important aspect to it, because they need to make sure that they understand what we are building so that they can create the copy.
Yeah.
So when these teams work, there is a way in which you can scale either to different pods or different squads, or it's not always like making them 4 times, 5 times to make a 4x impact, 5x impact.
Yeah, it's so true. And I think in this region specifically, and I see this firsthand speaking to candidates on the market every day, there's so many business and in the fintech world, maybe they go for a Series A or they go for a random investment and they scale massively.
Yes.
And I don't know whether that's like a ego thing or like, look how many people we now have. Headcount is so important, but it's really a shame because a lot of businesses do go like this, right?
Yes,
and it's not
correct.
good. People don't want to work there anymore. It gives it a bad name on the market and it's just unnecessary.
Absolutely right. I think the two things which I feel in the region or otherwise also are celebrated a lot, but I'm not personally fan of is the fundraise and, like, oh, we raised X amount or the team sizes.
Yeah.
Both actually, if you look at it in absolute term, yes, it gives you a bigger runway, which is absolutely necessary.
Yeah.
But both, if you see, are not giving any absolute result. The impact comes from, are you able to move your product and are you able to commercialize it? I think these are the two benchmark which should be celebrated rather than the other part. They happen to be just the usual business, right?
Yeah, makes sense. I completely agree. And then looking into the future for Dalil, where do you guys want to be in the next 5 years, 10 years? Like, what's the mission? What's the goal? And where do you want to be?
Yeah. So our mission is to make finance easy and accessible for all in MENA Pakistan region. So, we want to create this financial super layer where, literally anyone and everyone in, in the region, when they're looking for a financial product, they are able to do so with confidence, with a very personalized part, and the banks are able to reduce their cost of acquisition. We want to operate in the region. We are already, as I was mentioning to you just before we started this, traveling to Qatar. We've been invited there by them. So, first in GCC and then expanding it to the MENA region.
Awesome. Yeah. Do you think you'd ever go outside of the MENA or Pakistani region?
Hypothetically, you can say yes. There are temptations at times when things take time. But I think also what we need to be mindful of, and again, is each region culturally and from the regulatory perspective is different.
Yeah, of course.
The market nuances are different. So if you look at why we said MENA Pakistan is because our application itself is both English and Arabic.
Okay,
right?
Nice.
So you're talking about the language nuances, because if your overarching mission is making finance easy and accessible, I think the first thing is, are you able to deliver in the language in which people understand the thing, right?
Yeah.
So obviously, if you're talking about the European region, then obviously there are overheads of those kind of things. So theoretically, yes, but do we have active plan in the next 3 to 5 years for that? As of now, no.
Yeah. Okay. Makes sense. Well, look, I know it's been an amazing journey so far, and there's so many exciting things to progressively grow into. What would you say if you could give any advice to anybody that wants to be in, I guess, 2 different positions, the position you are now as a business owner, or wants to get into the fintech world, or wants to be a C-suite layer in a business? What advice would you give people?
Okay, so I think 2 or 3 things I would say. The first and foremost is, don't become a founder because, you see all these podcasts and you see this news of fundraise and all that, and it looks like very glamorous. All of us put up a face and do that.
It's so glamorized, especially on social media, isn't it?
It's so much. And, I think even the founders are to be blamed for that because everyone just puts out the happy story out there. Now there are people coming out and they share the struggles part of it. So unless you are prepared to go through a real hard life, don't do that. I think, I heard Elon Musk saying in one of the interviews, it's literally like eating a glass, right? So can you do that in real life? You should be able to give up, on your lifestyle.
Yeah.
If you're not willing to give up on your lifestyle, I don't think, you should start, because then you're not thinking about that problem so much, right? So that's first advice.
Sacrifice.
Yeah, you have to. And sacrifice to an extent where you can do whatever, right?
Yeah.
So like when you hear these stories of overnight success, those overnight success takes 8 to 10 years. And during that time, everyone literally go through the similar crisis, and if they have not gone through, probably the chances of that success is not going to be so high.
But even with the success thing, right, it's not just about not spending so much. It's also about sacrifice, probably with family and all that sort of stuff. Like, it's so hard that, you know, they're the ones that have to also take the brunt of it.
Absolutely. All the thing. It's literally when they say it's your baby, and you know, you do that, right? You're awake in the night, you're changing the, you know, the nappies and all that. So it's literally like that. You will be awake, you will be working, you will not probably be eating. So that's first part. The second part, I think, is a lot of time. Again, people come from different backgrounds. So one of the thing is getting obsessed with the product, that, oh, this is amazing, this is lovely. I think people should fall in love with the problem, because the problem is your why. If your why is strong, if you're in love with the problem and not with the product, chances of you succeeding is much higher. So you should persist with that. And the third thing is, you know, especially in the fintech business, you know, the region is not Europe, region is not UK, it's not even India. You know, it's a very fragmented market, both from architecting the product itself, where, you know, you have a data residency requirement in each country, the regulatory roles are required in each country. It's quite capital heavy, as well as technically you have to think about in a different manner than that. So be prepared that what works in US, UK, Europe region will not work here in the region. Whether it is about commercials, like here in the region, if you can't be on the WhatsApp with a bank person, you can be rest assured you're not going to sign a commercial deal, right? So if they are just on the mail and the meetings, inshallah, you know, you will get the deal, but not necessarily. So
inshallah,
So these are, I think, the three things which I would say.
I love that. I think that's such an important one. Like, focus on the pain, not the product, because that is your why, right? That's what you're actually fighting for.
Right.
And sometimes the product can also change. It can change position. It can change and pivot quite easily. But the pain is always going to be there until it's solved.
So like in our own example, so that it's just not academic, you know, when we were building Dalil, we created a platform. We were building on a dashboard for the banks where they will get all these insights and all that. And we actually had banks like National Bank of Bahrain, BISP, and even here we showcased to some of the banks here. They all liked the idea of the dashboard, but then very quickly in those conversations we realized that this will become a completely different sales, because this will go through a different sales process. Each one of them have their own dashboard, you know, for measuring their thing. So we actually looked at what is the measurable value which we are delivering in this product. And we converted that whole proposition to the API thing, that so that they can consume. It did two things. One is it helped us save cost of building such dashboards, you know, put the team, build it, and which will become extremely difficult to sell. And second is we could take the, you know, the input from the customer, you know, and refine the pain points which we perceived to build that. So the problem statement remained the same, but the delivery of the problem completely got changed.
When it comes to the speed and like pivoting and things like that, do you think that, because a lot of businesses that I spoke to, they say, they get so focused on building the perfect product before going to market, rather than just building something really quick and then going to market and then learning. What do you think's your advice on that?
I think, see, there are two things which you should do. You should definitely go to the market fast. If you're very happy about your product, which you have put it out and very proud of it, you're late, you know, obviously. But what you should do as a team is also keep on your design. So we are a very design-led organization. So we have a product designer, Salva. So what she does is she keeps the design based on the vision, right? So she may have design which are 3 steps forward.
Okay.
But in the product, we may have a product which is, you know, we have put it out, which is not completely fine-tuned, and so that we can use it to learn the user behavior. And then obviously we have the design ready. So once the product technical team is free now of having put this out in the public domain, they can work on the feedback which we got, and B, they can pick up the newer design, and Salva can also then tweak the design based on you know, the feedback which you are getting. So definitely you should put out the product as soon as possible with the customer, but you also need to have a very good design backlog, because it helps you, especially when you're working with the banks, sitting in that meeting room. If you're able to show that that's the actual vision where I'm going, they can see the quality of the team, they can see the quality of product which is coming, and they're able to relate, because banks are a different pedigree, right? So they're able to see that, yeah, what has gone in the market out, you have done it because you have this hypothesis of testing, but as a team, you guys already know what are the 3 steps which you have to take forward.
Very clever.
Yeah.
I love that. That's great advice.
Yeah.
One more question. Also, like, if you don't want to be an entrepreneur, but you want to be a C-suite member of team, or you want to join a business or want to be successful in a very fast-growing business, what advice would you give that maybe you've seen other people that you've managed before, qualities that they've shown that's been able to be successful for them in their journey?
Yeah. So 2 parts. On the positive and negative side, I would say a lot of people want to become a C-suite in a fast-growing fintech. I think what applies for the founders applies for those people also, that are you willing to sacrifice a thing, right? Obviously, a founder sacrifices it at a much higher level, but even the C-suite sacrifice is more or less at a similar level.
Yeah.
You are not losing the sleep probably about how to pay the next payroll, but the rest of the hits you also have to take, right? And that's very, very difficult for a lot of people who come from the corporate or who sees from the outside, that you're getting covered in the newspaper and all that, to jump and say, okay, I'll take a salary cut, I will work on it, and they get into it and they realize that, oh, I've taken a cut. And then on top of it, this is the pressure. I don't know whether I will get paid now or next month, or this additional follow-ups which I have to do. I have to put my ego aside that somebody has not answered my call 3 times, but I still have to pick up the phone and call them 4 times to say that, hey, I want a meeting with this bank. It's very difficult for a lot of people. So if you're not willing to do that, I think you should figure out a C-suite or a VP role in a corporate rather than a startup. I'm being very honest about that. The second part is in terms of, I think from the fintech startup perspective, the adaptability and learnability is extremely important. And that mindset. So, right, say for example, you again don't operate, even if a founder has got you into the room as a C-suite because of your experience, you don't bulldoze people who are working in the team because you assume that you have a 20-year experience, right? And that somebody has been just in the business for 5 years. I think that openness to learn from each and every person, and then taking the best decision, utilizing your, the experiences is something which you should be open for, because the fintech world, things change a lot. For us, like open banking, we literally learned on fly. It's not that we came with that background. We were learning as the industry was learning. We were partnering with people in UK and US and actually utilizing that to learn ourselves.
If no one has that experience, you have to, it's like you said, it's on the move, isn't it? You're learning as you're doing it.
Yeah. So you need people who have very high learnability and high adaptability as well.
Nice. Yeah. Amazing advice. And look, I know we're pretty much out of time now, but I really, really appreciate everything and telling us your journey so far. It's been an amazing story, and I can't wait to see where you guys go in the future.
Thank you. I really enjoyed this conversation, Liam. Thanks for having me.
Very welcome.
Yeah.
Awesome.